Hi everyone, welcome to STEMspresso, an explicit introduction to an exceptional woman in STEM and her work, and in today's case, two exceptional women in STEM. I'm Ornela Bardhi and I will be your host for today's episode. I'm excited to have today on the show Radenka Krsmanović Whiffen, who connects from Podgorica in Montenegro. Radenka is the Assistant Director of the Food Hub Center of Excellence and Associate Professor at the Faculty of Polytechnics at the University of Donja Gorica in Podgorica, Montenegro. And here in Tirana with me is Ornela Bardhi, Scientific Advisor to the Minister of Health and Social Protections. She's a Lead Albania Fellow, Program of the Albanian American Development Foundation. Thank you to both of you for joining with us today, and both Radenka and Ornela, they're former founder chair, let's say, and chair of the MCAA Western Balkans Chapter. So welcome Radenka and welcome Ornela.
Thank you very much.
Excuse the jitters, but it's the first episode that we have, let's say, we're doing in English of STEMspresso, and this is the first time that we have someone in person, and of course, someone else connecting over Zoom. Let's start, let's say, with the questions that we have today for you. Can you share with us how you decided to embark on your respective journeys? Either of you can start.
Yeah, you can start, Radenka.
Okay, thank you. Now, so how I decided to be a scientist, you mean? Or I think when I was a child, I had this, sorry, I didn't put this, didn't mute it. So I think everything started when I was a child. My parents, they were both teachers at the high schools, I think surrounded by books and always asking questions on which I got answers, supported that curiosity at the young age. And then later, when I started in primary school, I had a great teacher that continued doing that, and then everything was, I think, natural. Somehow you have this curiosity and what you are going to do. Yes, I was always interested in biology, physics, chemistry, maths as well. And then I decided to study electrical engineering first. So I did it here in Podgorica, my hometown. And after that, I wanted to continue. And I pursue a master in electron microscopy in Italy at University of Salento. And actually there was a big change happened because I was an engineer and I wanted to do engineering, but during this master I had a remarkable mentor, Marco Vittorio Antiseri, and I did lots of experimental work that was also chemistry, physics, not only electronics. And he told me that I'm like talented, that I should pursue a scientific career. And I was okay, maybe I was not really convinced. But then I got an offer, like a few months fellowship to continue to work at Radenkas in Rome. And there I had another mentor, woman this time, Amelia Montone, and she really convinced me and supported me to pursue scientific career. And I'm really grateful to her that I'm a scientist. And so this is also a thing that maybe to point out that having a good mentor is really important in a scientific career. And maybe for women scientists, having a woman scientist mentor is also very important. I don't know if Ornela has similar experience, but this is mine.
Yeah. So for me, well, when I was very young, I always wanted to study medicine. So I was towards medicine, but not in the sense, I was curious, but not in the sense that I wanted to explore, but didn't know exactly research. I had heard a lot of, especially in the movies, scientists and stuff, these crazy scientists, very old, white hair scientists, but not many women, unfortunately. So that wasn't like, I didn't know I wanted to become a researcher when I was younger. But slowly, I studied computer engineering, and then which was in itself like very different from my first career choice, let's say, when I was younger. But then when I started my master's and working on my master project that was in various countries, then I had, as Radenka mentioned, like a really a good supervisor. He was a man, not a woman, but nonetheless, like a really great mentor. Both of them, actually, Carl Anderson and Josef Hallberg. They both supported me throughout my whole journey. They wanted me to do my research, the kind of like I had envisioned for my master thesis, and not something like they wanted me to go like somewhere that I didn't want, but they wanted. They were absolutely supportive. And after that, I actually, during that semester, the last semester, I learned to enjoy doing research, and I loved it so much. And then I decided to pursue a PhD, and then throughout these 5 years has been like amazing. Like everything has ups and downs, of course, but still, nonetheless, I love it. A funny thing, last year when the pandemic erupted, and then everything was changed, and everybody was like either switching jobs or like working remotely or doing something different. I remember I had read this article and then shared it in LinkedIn, and I wrote something very funny in the description of the post, saying that some of my friends in academia should switch careers to policy making, because, well, in a pandemic, we don't need many lawyers, but we need more scientists. And so I really joked it back then, but then this year I switched careers myself. And now I'm working in the Ministry of Healthcare, and like life is quite interesting. And for now, I'm quite enjoying it. I'm still very new to the whole thing, career switch to policymaking. But it's really interesting to learn, like to get to work on the problem from a different perspective. Because when you are doing research, you kind of focus on your research and the kind of participants you are working with, or the people your research hypothesis touches. But when you work in government, things change, because you're not working on a small group anymore. You're just working for the entire population of a country. And that is still like something that I'm adjusting to, but it's not like it's amazing.
I would say it's great. I don't know. I always say to people that everyone should experience working in policy and policymaking or public sphere. It teaches you a lot, just, you know, the basics of it.
Yeah.
It's one of the two things that I would like to point out of this, let's say, first few minutes with both of you, is that Radenka mentioned teachers are very important. And let's say here at Now STEM, we do really agree with that. And also mentorships. Nevertheless, women or men, they're very, very important for academic and scientific, let's say, scientific career development. And the third thing is that, yes, women mentors, or let's say best practices, or this, let's say, figures that kind of guide you are very, very important. That's why we have both of you today here with us. Something, let's say, diving a little bit into your spheres is, what is your research about? And consider that, like me, many others are not part of your respective fields of study. So in a few words, what are you working on? Both Radenka and Ornela, because I would guess that you didn't leave your research, let's say, part.
Oh no, definitely not.
Behind. Yes, Radenka, please go.
Okay, so I'll start. So I'm in research for 20 years, so I did lots of different things during these years, but it's all connected to solid state physics and material science. And usually I was designing and synthesizing and characterizing some novel materials with specific properties. So practically creating materials that have specific properties and then have application, for example, in optics or electronics. So these materials were usually luminescent nanomaterials, glass ceramic, optically active ceramics, composite materials, and for example, composite materials and polymers with specially selected metal nanoparticles that have antimicrobial properties. And my last big project, that was my Marie Curie individual fellowship, was about pyroelectric energy harvesting materials. And that was really something I loved, because I jumped into a completely new field of materials. And now I'm doing something completely different. And it's about food biosensors that we want to develop at Food Hub Center of Excellence I'm working now. We want to develop a new food safe and possibly even completely edible biosensors that can be then to create smart food packaging for detecting perishable food. So that means that practically your package in which you have food will change color. For example, one small part will change color, and this will indicate that this food is gone bad and you will not buy this, or people in a supermarket will put it off the shelf. So this is something I like more and more, this research that has a real life application and that can be put in application really soon. Let's put it that way.
That sounds very interesting. Congrats. And we're really looking forward to developments. Maybe, I don't know where you plan on realizing that, but we'd love to have you back.
But it always needs a few years to develop everything. So
great. I would hope we'll be here still in a few years. So getting back to that. And then the floor is yours.
Yeah. So my research has been always applied. At the beginning, I started working with sensors, indeed. But instead of monitoring food, I was trying to monitor the health status of the fetus during the pregnancy of a mother. And was using ECG leads to understand if the heart rate of the fetus was okay, was normal. And after that, I switched to working more into data science, data analysis. And so my PhD was actually about cancer care pathways, focusing on breast cancer and prostate cancer. And so using different forms of data, such as electronic healthcare records, those are usually tabular data, but also images and patient-reported outcomes. And so during this time, I worked closely with patients, but at the same time, that was something that I had never done before. And that was really, really interested. And showed to me that an engineer can also be like, can work with humans. Yes. I learned empathy during that stage. And currently I'm working more on the digitalization. So the step before we use data. So we have to capture data to analyze it first. And Albania is in the right direction. Here we have digitize some part of the healthcare system, for example, primary care. We currently have e-visit system and e-prescription. So we get all this kind of data, but we still are very new to actually capturing the historic electronic healthcare records of patients. And I'm working on that big project currently, and we hope we will do like a great job so that later we can actually use this data and make it useful for universities, or I don't know, whoever wants to come up with new hypotheses and actually analyze the data.
It can be used for prevention or better treatment.
For epidemiology studies, for prevention, for coming up with new, I don't know, any idea that somebody might have, because we might have the same data, but the way we look at it and the hypotheses we form are different.
Great. It's very interesting to listen to all these, let's say, developments that happen in the WB6 in the Western Balkan countries, because, you know, from Tirana to Montenegro to Podgorica. I would like to know from the both of you, what do you consider as your main achievements career-wise? Is it, let's say, a good question to ask to women in STEM? Or to anyone?
Yeah, probably it's a reasonable question. So I can tell that probably my biggest achievement so far is my individual fellowship, so Maria Sklodowska-Curie individual fellowship that I won in 2018. And I spent 2 years with this fellowship at Radenka Research Center in Rome, working on developing this new bioelectric nanomaterials. So, and also a prototype of a bioelectric generator that was able, or is able to transform the temperature change in the environment into electricity. So that's this new green energy. So I'm, I can say I'm proud of this achievement, because it took me 3 years, 3 times to apply for this fellowship, and it's very prestigious, and I don't remember now how many people it was. I think in one of the last years about 10,000 application, and about I think 1,000 people get the fellowship. So it's not easy to get it, because you have lots of excellent scientists with lots of excellent ideas and transform into these proposals. And also, I can say that this was a great experience, because I learned that if I think it's a good idea, and also if the evaluators thought it's a good idea, from the start they thought it's a good idea, but I missed like 0.3 points, etc. So I was persistent, and I decided, okay, I will go for it, I will improve it, I will listen to their comments, improve it, submit again. So I had the third time was a lucky time for me. And thanks to this fellowship, that's how I got in touch with, I became a Maria Curie Alumni Association member, and then I co-founded this Western Balkan chapter that we might talk later on, that Ornela is chairing right now. So that's how I met Ornela. So
yeah,
that's super important, I would say, because everybody knows, first, everybody I think knows who Marie Curie was. And we, even though, let's say, people like me who are not scientists or not engaged in active research, know about the prestigious award that fellowship is. And I'm very happy to have the both of you actually here with me. Ornela.
Without a doubt, my PhD was the main and is the main achievement. But I would also add my 2 startups. I was quite young when I co-founded and funded the startups. They're no longer existent anymore, but nonetheless, I learned a lot with both of them. They were like far from what I'm doing now. One was for about circular economy, which is very important. And since sustainable development was the other part of my master program, and I still care about like sustainable development goals and sustainability in general. And the other one was actually as the spin-off, my master thesis into a company. I was approached by this business incubator in Sweden, and they were like, "Oh wow, your research is like, your master thesis is amazing. What have you thought of turning it to like a startup?" I was like, "Yeah, okay, we have this program, and it's like for like 2 months, and you can pitch your idea afterwards, and things like that." And I got funded for that as well, which was like, I never thought I was going to do that. But unfortunately, due to some patent issues, because I wanted to patent also the idea and the hardware, I couldn't move on. So I was like, I like research. Maybe I'll continue to do research and start a PhD, and then maybe later on we go back to the startup and the company idea.
But nevertheless, you have a lot of lessons learned.
Oh, absolutely, so yeah.
There's always a win, no matter if something succeeds or not.
I tell everybody, especially students, to try things out, because I mean, although you might not get where you wanted to go, at least you learned something. Anything, you always learn. And I also tell people in general, but especially again, students, to listen. Every new person that you meet have something new that you don't know. So it's very important to do things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And let's say we heard your let's say the nice things of the story, but I'm very curious to listen or to hear your challenges or challenges as researchers in your respective fields, but also challenges related to you being women researchers, if you have faced any, of course.
Of course, being a researcher these days, I think there are lots of challenges. To start off, the challenge moving countries with family is not easy. It's doable. I've done this, but 3 times actually. But it's really not easy when it's done for a short period of time, when you have often to change the place and the work. But so I think mobility is great, but it has to be more taught about it in particular when with the researchers with family. Yeah, there are lots of issues. I mean, if we want to talk about Western Balkan in particular, we still have this strong sense of patriarchy and hierarchy everywhere. So also in academia and research, and that is, I think, something that researcher here should face and deal with it. So recognize this as a problem and work to solve it, to improve the situation. And so maybe this is it, but also I think another thing I want to mention, yeah, I think that being a woman scientist in Western Balkan, it's not easy. And that's maybe also one strong reason why I left 20 years ago. I was a young engineer, just started to work, and my boss told me one day, just laughing, I was doing some really maybe not considered female work and with some cables and things, and he laughed at me and said, "Oh, you are doing some work that is really not to be done for somebody with the engineering degree." And he said, like, who needs women engineers? Like, nobody needs women. And really, I think that was that was the how to say, that was the thing that decided why I left Montenegro in the year 2000, really, because it was really not, I couldn't stand that behavior towards me. As an engineer, as a woman engineer, I really wanted to be respected for my knowledge.
Exactly. Do you see a sort of difference from when you left 20 years ago and now that you're back?
I think it's, the situation is better now, but again, not much. I think you don't see this behavior anymore. Women are more, I say, respected in those positions, but you don't see women in top managerial position, yes, or leadership position, and that's really a problem.
Yes, indeed. Well, representation is always an issue, and we're going to the next question with that.
Yeah. Regarding myself, well, I would say that engineering here in the region, but also like I'm talking about studying, not working as an engineer, of course. It's kind of like a 50-50, at least here in Albania. So we have a lot of student engineers. So there were, in a sense, there was no like discrimination. So if they would discriminate, they would discriminate everybody, boys and girls. But still, I think when it comes to even students, but also afterwards, you'd have this kind of attitude towards women, like you had to prove yourself over and over again that you of course you are like, you know what you're doing, you know what you're saying, and that kind of like iterates on the idea of like imposter syndrome. That's why many women have imposter syndrome, because they have been told or talked about, you know, but do you know this? And they have to prove themselves all over again every time. And I think I had to work like twice or thrice harder than a male colleague, probably because of that. I haven't been discriminated in that sense, at least I wasn't aware of. But again, I had in my mind, I had to work harder all the time. I would say that in industrial conferences that I attend, you see this more pronounced than maybe in academia, because somehow doing research, everybody is the same. Although you have different challenges, for sure. Depression is being one of them, but not that kind of discrimination. When it comes to another form of discrimination that I've noticed is, as Radenka touched it a little bit, it was more like, you know, where you're coming from. You're coming from outside of EU. So there are these layers and layers of things that you have to go through. And then sometimes you don't get the job because you're exactly from this region or you're outside of EU. And that comes of like, because they're not evaluating you for your skills, but rather from your, like where you were born, which is not in your hands, of course. So yeah.
I agree with Ornela, and this is also the thing that you have to work 2 times more or even more to prove yourself being worthy of that position. It's discrimination. It's I mean, you are doing your job, but why you have to overdo it? No, that's also something. And I just now remember another thing. A few years ago, I was back here in Montenegro, and I spoke to some professors, and they said that actually my 2 sons, my 2 boys, are my best projects, and they really see it like that being a mother, so having 2 children, maybe also having 2 boys, is my best project, and no matter what I accomplished so far. And this is really something that is still present. So they see us, if you are a mother, that's the end of your career as a researcher, or this you have your project now at home. And this is really something that is completely different from the Western Europe. I never had this situation abroad.
Yes, it's a pity because throughout, let's say, all of our talks with STEMspresso, we've been hearing a repetition of these traits, of these, let's say, quotes or sayings that women have received. And let's say the younger generations, those who are, I would say, now with 20 years of experience in the labor market or more, they still, let's say, experience something different, but at the end of the day, this sort of discrimination, because you don't need someone to say something to you, oh, you're a woman, like let's say in the case of Radenka, but the fact that you have to work twice or thrice more than another colleague of yours is per se not fair, it's per se a sort of, let's say, your reaction to the unperceived or unconscious, I would say, levels of discrimination. And also taking it to another level, working twice or thrice to prove that even though you're not a non-EU citizen, you're of the same word. So
or
it's
a
kind
woman
of a double,
or any minority in
it's
general.
Sort of a double burden. And this is what we're trying also actually to tackle with the network of the Albanian women in STEM. We want to increase representation. We want to increase these good examples that, first of all, young girls see that there is a whole world up there, that you can make it in academia, you can make it in policy, you can make it in the private sector, but also to the boys, that these are these excellent examples, that you don't need to be, let's say, in that circle of lack of information, that there are no women capable of doing different things, but there's a whole, let's say, world out there. And this comes also to my next question. In Albania, I would say, I'm not sure about Montenegro numbers, but in Albania, for example, in academia, the higher you go up the hierarchy scale, the less women you find. And
this is everywhere, unfortunately.
Yeah. But Ornela mentioned it, that the level of students' participation were good.
Yeah.
Equal 50-50 or a little bit of differences in percentages, but you can say that there is, let's say, equality in those numbers in participation. But when it comes to representation, the story is a whole different. And representation is also linked to decision-making, to orientation, to development, which is very, it's very important. So I would like to hear your opinion on representation of women in STEM in the WV6 and what can actually be done on a policy and non-policy level to increase such representation.
So we know the situation. It's not good, definitely, and I think it's the whole of the Western Balkan, Montenegro, Albania. I think it's the same. I remember I've read some data. I think you have a very good STEM student participation. So gender balance is achieved there. You have 50-50, but that's not the case in other countries in the Western Balkan. And you have this segregation. For example, girls will go to chemistry and pharmacy, but maybe medicine, but they will not go to electric engineering and mechanical engineering or civil engineering. So you have these clusters, no? Yeah. And so this is one thing. And even in your case, when you have 50-50%, you have this leaky pipeline. So during the career progression, these women just disappear. And there are different reasons for that, mainly because when they start family, they don't have time to do research, and the progress is slow, and they need more years to achieve the position. And while their male colleagues, they can just devote their time to, and progress in a career faster. And the other thing is also that we don't know what's happening, to be honest. So it's because there is no data. So we don't know why these women disappear. Maybe they we know actually that lots of them work in primary and secondary schools as teachers. And so they graduate in biology, chemistry, physics, maths, and then they are all in primary and secondary schools. Not all, but lots of them. And some maybe will just become stay-at-home moms, maybe. And what happened to the rest of them? Maybe they do not work in STEM at all. Maybe they work, I don't know, in some other field that is completely different from STEM fields. And this is, so we don't have this data, and we need to have them in order to find out how to deal with this issue. And and as regarding the top position and managerial position, this is something that I think we need some policy change actually at the policy level to change this. Maybe this has to be done at national, by national regulation, that Ornela can maybe do something about this. And, but also I want to mention that from next year, in order to participate at Horizon Europe projects, each academic institution or research institution has to have their gender equality plan that is approved and visible on their website. And so this has to be now soon. And I hope all of the higher education institutions will have this gender equality plan. The problem is, will they implement this document really, or it will be just a theory and in practice nothing will change? Because there are clear guidance, clear guidance is provided by European Commission, and there are also lots of this gender equality in research tools that can be implemented. So we just have to use them. We don't have to really overthink about it. We just have to apply it for a specific situation that exists at our university or our research center. The problem I think here is we need to understand that there is an issue that we have to work on and change the situation. And this is at the policy level, I think, but another non-policy level, it's maybe something that we are doing now with this regional network of women in STEM in the Western Balkans that is recently organized. So in April this year, it started. And I think this is also one way. So we have all of the territories, all of the economies from the Western Balkan involved, and this is an initiative that is supported with the RCC, Regional Cooperation Council, and the UNDP, and we had 2 meetings so far, live meetings, and I think we will start in January next year with specific actions. So you will know, because also Albanian Network of Women in STEM is part of this initiative. And I invite Ornela to join, because you can be a valuable member there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. When it comes to representation, I think, as you both mentioned, the higher up the career chain you go, the less representation we have. So representation is awful. But I really like this tweet that Marie Bicham tweeted some months ago, I think, and I have saved it because it's really important. It doesn't talk about barriers, but more like privileges. Some people have a hard time recognizing privilege, saying, I work hard, I don't get things handed to me. I understand that. Here's how I respond. Privilege isn't bonus points for you and your team. It's unfair penalties for the other team gets that you don't. Privilege isn't the presence of perks and benefits. It's the absence of obstacles and barriers. That's a lot harder to notice. if you have a hard time recognizing your privileges, focus on what you don't have to go through. Let that fuel your empathy and action. And this was, to me, when I read this, it was like, yeah, bingo, ding, 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 you know, like, yeah, people have to, like, men, for example, like in different parts of the, I don't know, academia, research, or in industry, like in every aspect of life, they don't recognize their privileges and they take them for granted. Whereas for women, and we discussed it also, we have to work harder, we have to prove ourselves, and still it's not enough sometimes. And also there are times that the same treats for like men and women are perceived differently. For example, if a woman is assertive, she knows what she wants, they label her as bossy. I mean, why?
Yeah.
And when a man has the same traits, it's seen like, oh, he's a leader. Like, why? She's not a leader and he's a leader. Yeah. Or if a woman is empathic, oh, they say like, oh, she's maternal. It's her job to be empathic. No, it's not anybody's job. Exactly. But when a man is seen as empathic, then, oh my God, he's like really good with his family, he takes care and blah, 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 which is like, I don't understand that. I mean, why do we have to be like, I mean, it's not a cultural thing, because obviously this doesn't happen only here in the Western Balkans. It's all over the world, even in developed countries like US and Western Europe. But still, we have these issues. And I think they're only picking some stuff, but it's not like we have to go through this, like, really. I know people mention this systemic problems, but it's really, that is the issue. So
how to solve them?
because those are like, harder. That's why we don't need somebody, for example, we're in a meeting, we don't need like a man to keep points when a woman talks and then somebody disrupts her and he will be like, no, let her speak. No, like set the norms of the meeting so that everybody will speak and nobody will interrupt. And then everybody speaks. Even the shy person, be it a man or woman, a transgender, gay, I don't know, a Muslim or Catholic or any minority. So that is very important. In the sense, we don't rely on good people, like one or two good people in the organization or in the university. And of course, we need allies. Allyship is very important. And Lily Zhang, a researcher from Harvard Business, I think. She defines allyship as making a genuine, measurable, positive impact on the well-being and success of the person that you are supporting. And we need allyship not only among women, but also with men. So we need to bring men to the conversation as well. Because sometimes they think that the problem is only just interpersonal, just like saying things, but it's not. It's more than that. Yeah. And I like the campaign by Emma Watson about he for she. Yeah. And I think we need to amplify that kind of conversation more. And of course, we need to bring men to the conversation because they might not be aware of it, because they have not experienced the things that a woman can experience. And if we communicate the kind of issues that we have, then I believe the things might be better. When it comes to other things, I would also mention women tend to also, when they apply for jobs or a position or research position, be it or in outside of academia, we tend to pick those kind of positions that we really know how to do everything that is on the list. So we are limiting ourselves.
Yeah.
And limiting ourselves means that we're limiting our options to grow. And so we have to move away from this mindset as well, hopefully soon. I know it's hard. And then we mentioned imposter syndrome. That is also like, that is a problem. And we have to be, I mean, I know that saying we have to be more resilient, but I mean, everybody has been saying it. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to be resilient anymore. I've like endured a lot, so that's enough is enough. But when it comes to policy making in this regard, first of all, parental leave in many countries, it's still not a given, and it's like a very short amount of time. Reliable childcare, support for elderly, because usually all this care, all this work outside of work tends to be left to the women. And if women are doing 2 jobs but being paid only for one, and even for that one are not being paid equally as men, I mean, it's not fair. I would also say that we need to make it illegal to pay 2 different people 2 different salaries, be it a man and the other person is a woman, or like another minority. No, same job, same pay. I would also make it like official, like a law or something, that every company should state the salaries right away in the job description, because not everybody is that much capable to negotiate salary. And why would everybody have that?
Yeah, that's skill.
I mean, if you're saying that you have to do this and this and this, then you have to pay people for that kind of like job that you are requiring of them. So yeah, I don't have more, but I mean, we can talk, and we can have others as well.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have to be also careful with the policies we make, because sometimes they backfire. I remember this law about this act about disability in US, and they were making like tougher for the companies to fire disabled people, but then it backfires because less and less disabled people were hired at the first. So yeah, we have to think about this as well.
Yeah, I really appreciate your feedback, and it surely will, let's say, it's useful not only for the discussion and for those listening to us, but also for the, let's say, future thinking that we're putting behind the network. And I don't know, Radenka, you want to share something? Yeah.
Yes, I just wanted to talk a little bit more about this bottom-up approach, about this regional
Radenka, I think
that is founded recently. So it, sorry?
No, we lost it for a couple of seconds, but it's okay now.
Okay, sorry. So I just want to say that we want to build a strong community of researchers from the West Balkan, but not only women, also men as allies and supporters, and so all of them have to support gender equality in STEM, in research, and not only they are from academia, from research, but also from industry and business. Yeah. So that's also important, and we want also to provide role models for younger girls, but also for those that are studying, so that they would like them to continue further, not just to find immediately job in a primary school. That is maybe something that's offered first, and they will accept and stay there. So, and also we will try to provide some mentoring and maybe to give advice how to progress in a STEM career. And I'm grateful to you also because you are going regional with this with STEMspresso podcast, and this is really great support for the regional network. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'll add something,
yeah.
and this is like the cherry on top of the cake. There was a study done, like how these committees hire doctoral and postdoctoral students. And there was this researcher who had recorded all this conversation done in these committees, like who they were going to hire or not. And this is I will read some part of the conversation. Again, Twitter is like, academic Twitter is amazing. So if anybody wants to learn a lot about research and, you know, academic life, go on academic Twitter is absolutely. So there is this conversation between some people here, and Peter says, I think she is head and shoulders above everybody else. Ryan, is she any like other schools list? Todd, we can't ask that. Clara, but is she movable? Meaning, can she be moved from one country like to the other? I don't trust people who are married. Look how deep the discrimination goes.
Yeah.
I thought she was pretty, by the way, says to the group. I can't say that. Peter says, no, I can't say that. And then another one. This is the opposite. So married and unmarried is still a problem for women. Mary says, does Jennifer have one? Referring to a husband. Lydia, let me check. And she types on and goes to Facebook. Her best friend is one of my former undergrads. Mary, who's also now started searching on internet on her laptop about the candidate. No, I think she had a wedding, but now she's divorced. Lydia, really? I thought she was married. Yes, but then she had a divorce. And then she continues searching, then turns the computer up to the group and brings up evidence for her divorce online. She had a wedding, but she's divorced. And then the other person confirms it. Now she has a boyfriend, clicking her mouse on her laptop. Let me see. Looks like he's flexible. And she laughs. He looks like he's a hiker or something. He'd move. Like, I mean, what are these kind of conversations? Yeah. This is like, I mean,
well, let's say.
Ornela, I think at the end we can conclude that we need more women with more influence if we want to change the culture and the mindset, because that's something we have to work on.
Especially in technology, we have had a lot of famous tech conferences. EURNIPS, one of the most famous ones in artificial intelligence, but also in other smaller ones. The organizers complaining about, oh, we don't have women representatives, or we don't have people of color representative. So that's why we don't invite them. And all the panels are all white male. And that is, I'm sorry, bullshit. Because if you type a little bit, like, you know, if you search a little bit longer, you will find that women are there. And the other problem is that most of these women, there was a study done by, I think, some researchers from UK on female representation in Wikipedia. Apparently, people write articles about females in Wikipedia, but then Wikipedia deemed them as not noteworthy, so they delete their profiles, which is, oh my God. And so, yeah, that's why we don't have.
I'm not sure about that. The thing is that, for example, with the network of women in Albanian women in STEM for a couple of years now, we're doing editathons to increase and Wikipedia, or to enrich Wikipedia with profiles of Albanian women in STEM. What we see, what we learned actually from the first editathon is that there's no information online about these women. So we worked on our first editathon. It was for Ada Lovelace Day because we wanted to celebrate that in Albania. And there is no, let's say, better way to celebrate that than to honor Albanian women in STEM actually and increase their visibility online. Wikipedia has this feature this is what we learned from the training. We're cooperating with the Open Labs hackerspace that are giving us the skills, let's say the soft skills and the hard skills on how to do that. The thing is that there's not a lot of approved and resources that are acknowledged and trustful online on women that you can put on Wikipedia. So if I go and work on your profile, like we've done in one of our editathons,
thank you.
Is that so your website is not considered as a reliable source because it's work from you. So I don't know if it's featured on another, I don't know, on the university webpage or the ministry's webpage, it's considered as a trustful resource. So you can put it online, and then everyone that edits on Wikipedia, there's someone that approves, and they kind of, I think that they check these sort of links. And this is the thing that we learn, is that we have excellent women researchers that have been doing their work for a long time. They're been awarded a lot during their career, let's say. And at the end of the day, what you find is that just a short bio of them on the website of their university, or just a couple of links of conferences they have participated into, but there's not this culture, let's say, to have a lot of information online that can be easily found and can be easily referred to. And
we can change that. We can change that. Exactly. I think put it in our network, we can organize maybe and have present women from the Western Balkan. No,
exactly. And this is one of the things that has made a lot of impression to us, is that when we go and Google an Albanian woman in STEM that is working in the Western world, I would say, there's a huge body of information online, conferences, websites, I don't know, department website, university website, somewhere that she's associated to. But for those working in Albania, that's, and this is one of the lessons learned, and this is one of the things that we have incorporated in our work plan. We have to improve these things. We have to increase this presence, visibility online of women in STEM, or women scientists. And yeah, it's let's say it's a huge thing to be done. It might seem, let's say, simple, technically simple, but as really. Radenka was mentioned, and that is very interesting, Radenka, and we have to put some thoughts into the gender equality plan for participation in H20 in Horizon Europe. Because of course you can have it on paper, but I don't know, organizing a shadow monitoring committee, we can do that. And saying that, yes, are they implementing the measures or not? But also there needs to be a lot of awareness among women and men in academia to request for that to be implemented and to have a result at the end of the day. So yeah.
I think the main problem, at least I can speak about Albania, is that currently universities, they don't have a reliable website, meaning the information sometimes is outdated or there's no information at all.
Exactly.
So universities should be pushed to, update their websites.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, we can, these are all ideas. At least this is what I'm noting down. So I don't know, also to all those who are listening or following us on Facebook, and also we have a question from Facebook that I'm going to address to you, Ornela, at the end.
Okay.
You can just write to us either on social media or at info@sidefcenter.org. We can initiate nice things with an impact at the end of the day. And moving on now to the thing that connects you right now to the MCAA Western Balkans Chapter. What are you doing with let's say that chapter? What is the main things that you are engaged in, and how can we help promote actually this work done by you ladies and further?
Ornela is chair, I think.
And how can you support us?
What's going on?
We can hear from both of you.
Yeah. So Radenka is the one who contacted me, and I had just started my PhD, I think, or yeah, maybe. I think it was 1 year later. And then she wrote to me like, "Hi, I'm Radenka. I'm from Western Balkans, and I noticed you are as well. And do you mind, like, whenever you go to Albania, do something regarding Marie Curie?" And I was like, "Yes, I always wanted to do that. I didn't have time to do anything related to EMA, which is Erasmus Mundus Association, because I'm also a member there. But when I started my my fellowship, Marie Curie fellowship, I always wanted to be more involved. And when I read your email, Radenka, I was like very happy, like super happy, because you had also mentioned who I was going to contact as well, because that is very important. Because somehow that kind of information here in the Western Balkans is always hidden. You have to like dig and dig and dig. So I contacted Robert Dumi, who is
NCP.
the NCP here at NASRI, National Agency for Scientific Research and Innovation here in Albania. And then we organized.
So can people, listeners, still contact him?
Yeah. He's still there. He's still there. And then we organized that. It was just like a short description about me, and then my experience with Marie Curie, Marie Skłodowska-Curie Action and Grant, and then just a little bit about ITNs, because maybe the public doesn't know, but Marie Skłodowska-Curie Action holds different programs within it, and some programs are for doctoral students, people who want to pursue their doctoral studies. And there are also different forms of like how you do that. So one is ITNs, when you do research in academia, but also in non-academic setting, be it not-for-profit, a company, or like a governmental body, I don't know. And then there are joint doctoral degrees. You work in two different universities and get a joint degree. Then there is RISE. It's for academics who want to pursue, like do some research time in another institution. And then you have also individual fellowship that Radenka did, but that is for postdoctoral studies. And so we did it, and every time I would come back to Albania, I would do some of these events. And then in 2019, we were enough fellows from the region, and Radenka had this brilliant idea to form not a group anymore, but a chapter. And because not that we are so many people from the Western Balkan chapter, from the Western Balkan region that work in research, but somehow people don't know that they can gather in this chapter and then work together. So are not aware of such things, because, well, life as a researcher is not easy, and you tend to focus on that, and everything is voluntary based. So we do that because we really enjoy what we're doing, and we want to improve also the research aspect here in the region. But mainly we work as a chapter. We work on like networking, mainly for our members, and we organize events for our members, but also for non-members, such as events, as I mentioned before. We organize events for collaboration between different researchers from the region, and that is actually what I really want to do during my term, to increase the collaboration between universities in the region. And hopefully in the future we will get more Marie Curie grants or Horizon Europe grants as well. We want to establish partnerships with science policy makers in the region as well, because that is important. Without these stakeholders, we cannot progress as quick as we might want. then yeah.
Yeah, I can say, I can add just that essentially we gathered, just, of course, this is all voluntary. So in now we are 106 members, I think, in
109.
109, oh, good.
And we're going 3 more strong people.
So it's so these people are either alumni, MCAA alumni, so they had their fellowships and they finished, like me or Ornela, or they are currently doing their fellowships. And also they are not only people who are from the Western Balkan region, but also people, researchers who are doing their fellowship in the Western Balkan region. There are not many, a few, but still, this is important also to say, because they are then integrated in the Western Balkan research maybe better. And also when we started, we also wanted not only to make this network group of our researchers, because we have strong scientific diaspora anyway, no? And we are really good part of scientific diaspora abroad, but also to connect better with the as Ornela mentioned, our academia and research in the Western Balkans, and maybe be an example maybe of a good practice of for them, show them what is possible to do with the MSCA programs, and also we always act as MSCA ambassadors. We promote these programs all the time, use every opportunity. We don't only organize our events, we go to some random conference that is organized at the University, I know, of Tirana, and we promote our chapter and the MSCA program. So, but also we organize also some discussions regarding the situation in research in the Western Balkan, and we try by organizing these roundtables maybe to tackle a little bit. We can't really change it, but we can talk about it, and maybe then some policy makers will also start talking about it and think about change. Yeah. So I think Ornela is now in a position when she can do a lot.
Yeah,
I count on you.
To be honest, what I want also, like, if anything, to be like gained from our experiences abroad, especially from the Marie Skłodowska-Curie action, is that we usually have interdisciplinary projects, and I've been trying to bring this kind of mindset also here in Albania. I don't know how it is in other countries, but I'm guessing it might be the same. But it's very hard. They kind of think of the problem from one single perspective, but nowadays, I mean, it's very important to see it in different perspectives. And we have organized also events about integrity and ethics in research, which is very important. And I think we need to do that more until like people say like, come on, you've been talking about this, but it's not enough. It's not enough. Because
there should be an understanding that it's important, and then they will change. Otherwise, it's if they just listen and then don't think about it, it doesn't matter then. But another thing, I think, Ornela, not just interdisciplinary, we need to be more connected regionally. And this is the problem. I worked at the Winch Institute of Nuclear Sciences for lots of 7-8 years. So during that time, I wanted to work with our neighbors in the region, but it's not possible. It's easier to establish, I don't know, bilateral project to have it with France or Italy than with Albania or, I don't know, North Macedonia. And this is something that I still do not understand. How come that our universities and research center are not better connected? Because we really are close. And also here in Montenegro, I can't work with the University of Tirana because we don't know anyone, for example. And this is something I think we need to change through this bottom-up approaches, this networking that we organize. So just meet people. And then when we know each other, then we can organize projects together and work together.
Yeah, because I think the diaspora, like regional diaspora, has done a lot of work, but we need researchers in the region to collaborate with each other.
That's very interesting coming from two ladies from the STEM fields, because in social science research, we face that on an everyday basis. And I'm happy to say there are good initiatives going on. So I don't know whether you've heard about the European Social Survey that, for example, SciDev is supporting the survey in Albania and let's say is part of this Western Balkans European Social Survey network, that they try the whole Western Balkans country, try to push them, to nudge them into being part of the survey. Is that you work with data, and with the European Social Survey you get data that are longitudinal in the country, but also the same methodology is applied. So comparability is very easy with other 26 countries. So, but it's a process actually. And it's another whole issue that, let's say, collaboration doesn't, or lack of collaboration doesn't happen only in STEM fields, but also in social sciences, although it's something that is moving on a little bit. And with all these funding scenarios, things are starting to change. And then there are, let's say, networks like yours and also ours that try to bring people together, which is a good thing. And another note on what you mentioned about interdisciplinarity, it's very important actually. With the network of Albanian women in STEM, this is what we're trying to do. You cannot tackle issues related to a certain topic only with experts of that field. You need, let's say, a whole bunch of experts. You need media also to be part of the discussion in order to have some change and impact done. And then I come to my, let's say, last question. I don't know whether you don't have anything else to add on what we're discussing until now. What are your plans?
Before we go to that last question, I think we need, or universities need to work a lot more on some, I don't know, if you want to attract, for example, outside talents, or to prepare the talents in the region, in the countries, to at least make some classes or some studies in English. So, for example, people who are coming from abroad to doing research, mainly it has been Serbia. Serbia has the most Marie Curie fellows coming from outside.
They are the leader really in the region, yes.
Yes. I think the other countries in the region should look up to Serbia to understand what they have done and translate it to the countries. And English, we should have more classes and I don't know, subject in English.
Agree, but let's move on because we're running very, very late.
Okay.
And I'm afraid that those who might listen to the podcast might not listen at it at all. My last question would be, what are your plans for the future, career and non-career wise?
For the future, okay.
Up to you to share or not.
Yeah, okay. I apart from research, in these last 3-4 years, thanks to the MCAA mainly, I got more and more involved in science policy, science diplomacy, and also I'm interested in responsible research and innovation, gender equality in research, and all the good things that are missing here. So I'm more involved in this, and also in maybe project management. So I don't know what the future holds for me, but I'm now finding some balance between research and doing these things aside. But definitely, what would I like to do in future is to have more work-life balance and to be more with my kids and watch them growing.
Thanks. Yes.
I just started this new career path, and it has been really interested. It's for 1 year. The fellowship is for 1 year, so I'll see how this fellowship goes. So far so good, but as Radenka mentioned, I don't know if it is only women in academia, but we tend to like have a lot of things on our shoulders. I am organizing also a scientific conference next year. It's in renewable energies and smart technologies here in Albania. So we have an international conference in the region for everybody who is listening. Well, I have this commitment with MCAA and Western Balkans Chapter. The term lasts for 2 years, so I will definitely be here. I'm still active in research. Currently, I'm collaborating with some people in Mexico. To be honest, anything related to technology, to artificial intelligence, to startup, I'm very interested in that. Also, besides these other things that are definitely in, my scope of research and work in general. Anything related to healthcare, it's really close to my heart, and I think I will be somewhere in between these things.
I will not ask this question again. It's like people tend to kind of position themselves when you ask this.
No, but I think it's, I mean, if anything, we have learned a lot from COVID and from like COVID situation, but things might change. And well, things do change.
Eventually. I have a question on Facebook for the participant from Albania. Do you make your research reproducible?
So there are websites. First of all, everything that Marie Curie funds, especially since my project, I don't know, earlier, maybe not, you have to make it open access.
Yeah.
Because everybody should have access to such research. Reproducible, then, I mean, it's up to the individual, of course, to present the data, but sometimes the data is it's not that easy to share that kind of information. But I tend to be very deliberate in my methodology and try to explain everything in there, because medical data is sensitive and might be traced back. And of course, the licenses, it depends where you get the data from, and they might not want, especially in my case.
So it's a case by case.
Of course.
Scenario. So I would suggest to go and follow Ornela on Twitter. It's at Ornela Bardhi, and Radenka, it's at
RK Whiffen, yeah?
RK Whiffen, yes. RKWHIFFEN. So please do follow them, and their content is very, very interesting, as well as is the content, let's say, distributed by the MCAA Western Balkans Chapter on Twitter, and I don't know, on the other social media.
Yeah, we're currently only on Twitter, and we are very strong there.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you very much to both of you for joining us today and for this very interesting discussion. It's the first time, as I said in the beginning, that we are doing it in person and over Zoom. So hopefully in the future, it's a learning process for us as well. Let's say it has been a pleasure to have both of you here, and also interestingly enough, this is the last episode of STEMspresso for 2021. So I'm very happy that we closed it in such a I would say great discussion. With our listeners and those who follow us on social media, we'll be meeting for a new episode at the end of January 2022. And please, to everyone, if you happen to know an outstanding woman in STEM, please do refer to us to have as a guest in our future episodes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.